Hi, Complacent Badger, and I am with.
Gimpy, in my full pale glory.
Yeah, I guess we can't say in the flesh, but you're in the bone? That sounds kind of rough.
I feel like we nailed that though.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so this is the Hurt Locker, coached by Jester TG, against Out of the Coffin, coached by Fartimus Maximus, a new coach to the league.
Yeah, we're finally back after what's been 2 years since the last Bloody Turf or Broken Teeth Bloody Turf League.
Yeah, and with we had some issues getting, as always, it seems for every season, we have issues getting the whole seasons recorded. Do apologize. We're gonna try to do the best we can to get it this time. Changing weather, nice weather,
Nice.
wonderful.
That was nice.
And I imagine there's no way to speed up the replay like there was
Uh,
in previous editions.
yeah, it looks like we're in for the long haul, man.
Ugh,
Yeah, better or worse. But the bright side is like unlike in old Blood Bowl 1, we don't have to sit through the awkward waiting time.
that's
Every
true.
action happens as if he just were very efficient.
Oh, that's cool. So it doesn't remember the actual footage like it did for the original replays.
Yeah, it's not a
Mm,
true replay
okay.
so much as it's like a very effective reenactment.
Yeah. Well, that's a strong cage. He's caging up with the vamp in the center. Who do we got playing as QB for this one? Duke Dawid Morganti. Do you know if he named his
Yeah,
players?
I have no idea. I have known Ted for a while. He and I D&D together. However, uh, um, I have actually never played Blood Bowl with him. So
Okay,
he is
okay,
one of our new additions, as you mentioned earlier.
okay.
Trading off as we lost our defending champion, Ducky Shoes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Vamp on the line. I don't know if I would have done that. What about you?
Uh, Probably not. I think you want to. Well, it's one of those things. Probably would have left the thrall on that wing instead of engage him, and then
Yeah.
would put the vamp next to him.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot of thralls downfield. Like maybe put the thralls on the line with the lack of thralls, or sorry, the vamp. Yeah, vamp on the line because the lack of thralls he have, so he can hold hands downfield.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely in a tough spot here, and I believe this is the first time he's ever played vamps. If it's not, he doesn't have I think a lot of experience with it. Whereas I know Jester had spent a lot of time practicing with these Amazons.
Yeah,
So
I think out of all of us, I think he was the one who practiced his team the most.
I mean, dude, I live my team. So
That's true. I guess you don't need practice.
yeah.
You are literally the undead.
So no one needs your shit.
And I guess my team is not it's not something new to me.
Yeah. Well, if anyone thinks short and stubby, it's you.
You got that
That's how I
right.
define it.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
so ball carrier's moving along, going on the sideline. He's probably
Oh
pass,
yeah, he's going for
disregard
that
all.
pass already. It looks like.
All right, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. And because he doesn't have that backfield presence, this is one of those things where having that extra vamp downfield might have been worth it. But I mean, that was probably a worthwhile risk. I can't see it from here, but I don't know if Jester TG has a safety.
No, he did not play a safety. That pass would have given him a touchdown without thinking about any bloodlust. So honestly, that was a pretty good play,
Yeah.
all things considered.
That was a huge win, I think, for Hurt Locker because that was easily a score for Farms Maximus.
Yeah, and it just goes that he committed that vamp on the line instead of taking that wing, so that wing was open for a catcher to just run over there. Blitzer got over there as well, so he's pretty protected. And it looks like the Hurt Locker is going to do a good job of kind of wrapping around and taking out the
Yeah.
lanes. They really only have to worry about that one vamp there. But as with all vamps, if you can't get a thrall there, it's almost useless to get the vamp there.
Yeah. And then that 7 AV is never fun for anyone. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be an early KO.
Yeah, looks like the Amazons are bringing some heat. So, like
Yeah,
we're.
if there was a weakness here for this setup, I absolutely think it was giving up that left wing. For Jester, he got real lucky that that it was a fumbled pass, because, man, even a scattered pass could have ended really poorly for him.
Yeah, I would have been a big fan of seeing those thralls just kind of do a zone defense over there on the left side, not even engaging, because you know that armor value 7 versus armor value 7, you don't really want to punch at all, especially with the thralls, how quickly you're going to cycle through them. But just being in the way so that he has to force those dodge rolls.
Yeah. But he got a little bit of engagement here.
Yeah, he tosses the blitz, and I didn't see if he needed go for it's up there.
If you want, maybe bring up the grid. That may not be a terrible idea.
I do not remember the command.
Control.
Is it control? Sick. Okay, there we go. Just grid. Okay. Sorry, folks watching. The whole setup for this season is completely different. We will probably be working through a lot of this while recording because we're professionals, isn't that right?
Yeah, of course. This is our first season with Blood Bowl 2, so
yeah,
our first true season. We had a test season a couple years ago, and then one of our coaches reminded me that Skaven can score in one turn and proceeded to do it literally every time that he got the ball. So.
Yeah, I think we've all, for most of the people in here, other than the newbies, we've put in at least 200 hours apiece into Blood Bowl 2. So we're still a little green when it comes to the UI versus how we were in Chaos and Legendary Edition back in the original Blood Bowl.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so he's keeping the same setup.
He's got the, I think that's called the longbow for the defense, and then the offense. I use a similar setup for offense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, that's a similar setup to my defense. I just don't put on the line. But he didn't have a cage back there. But when you're Vamps, I don't think you need a terribly big cage.
Yeah. He's getting a pretty good cage here. And the rear of the cage isn't going to be too big of a deal. Here, though, it looks like it's more of a box. And, again, he's leaving that left flank open. So almost certainly you're going to get the blitz on that side.
Ooh! Dead lineman. Line woman, I apologize.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, brought it back. Is that a badly hurt, probably?
I believe it. Oh, no,
fractured leg. Yep. Casualty roll.
But that's only losing a game. That's really not that bad.
Yeah, especially on a line woman, that's nothing. I guess I should skip. So this is what makes me think that he might be a little bit newer of a coach, because the newer coaches tend to do boxes like this, which reduces your avenues of escape.
Yeah. A little too overcautious here. Maybe just fill in that back corner and like those two back corners, and then leave that flank on the outside.
Yeah, and I would have liked to have seen that Vamp dodge out in blitz and try to make a hole, so that the whole focus isn't on the ball. He would have to put a couple players for pass defense.
Yeah.
You gotta spread that focus, especially when you have the strongest players on your side. You really want to increase those number of one-on-one fights.
Yeah, well, especially with those guys. For the thralls, you can leave those on the line all day.
Yep.
Really, if anything, that's to your benefit. If he's spending time throwing block dice at those guys, it means your good players are the ones that are free and clear to do stuff.
Yeah. And another one of those big issues of doing those big boxes, especially on the line where you already have, like, he should have set that cage one set back, because of how many free blocks he got against that cage.
Yeah. Let's see what he does here. He's going to try to... Looks like he's going to try to block a little bit his way out of this cage.
Yeah, because for all the new coaches at home, the whole purpose of a cage is that you should only be getting one hit against it, and it has to be the blitz. Which means, at the very least, unless they have something crazy like leap, they're most likely not touching your ball carrier until after the block. So he's pretty pass happy, and I don't know if he would have gained a lot from that with that safety back there. Granted, it is one catcher, but yeah, he moved the thrall up, and he went
a little too aggressive on that movement, I think.
Yeah, having to go for it after you just had to re-roll. I mean, I know it's only a 16%, but it's risk management. You gotta watch out for that, and especially when you're expecting like blood. I know he did that because he was trying to bloodlust.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, things might black out in this game because new camera equipment, and I don't know how to use it.
Always professional.
So professional, but it's fine. The audio won't cut out, and neither will Gimpy's.
Yeah. So I mean, and I'm the important part. Is
That's
the
true. They come for you.
soothing, sultry tones of my voice.
Nicola Ostro.
Let's see. So we've got a little bit of movement here. Jester taking some shots. But I think this is, for the record, I would like to point out, though, I think this is the best starting build for Vampire with one exception. I think he needs more rerolls.
I honestly would have gone 2 vamps, not 4.
I think he started 3.
Sorry, that looked like a vamp down there. Yeah, he's got 3. I always go 2 vamps, and then I think I do the same number of rerolls he does. I can't recall.
I think
Did he
he
start
started
with 3?
with 3 rerolls.
Yeah, I think I do. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. It's been a long time since I played vamps. But I always try to get a 12th thrall in there. So whatever gets me that 12th member.
Okay.
So I guess it would be 9 thralls. Yeah, 9 thralls. Sorry, my math's terrible. Whatever gets me 12 players and 2 vamps, I always try to get that and then fill in the rest with rerolls.
Got it. I think, if I recall, see, now I have to mentally do the math because it's been a hot minute since I looked at a Vampire starting roster. I think if you roll 2 vamps, you can get 5 rerolls.
Yeah, that sounds right because I think I remember rolling 5 rerolls and I felt very comfortable. Granted, if something happens to those vamps, like you get a lucky knockout on them or something, you're kind of boned. But it does keep your players on the pitch, so your thralls become a lot more useful because you're not biting on them, and you have a lot more opportunity because for every vampire you don't have on the pitch, you have a thrall, which means more opportunity for handholding.
Yeah, and this is one of those teams where normally we talk about teams like ogre teams and goblin teams where like nega traits are a fact of life. Vamp is one of those ones where you really don't want it to be your fact of life first and foremost, because they are your whole team. So if you don't have those rerolls to try to get rid of that bloodlust and try to get plays done, you could really jam yourself a lot more.
Well, and honestly, the rerolls for me when I vamp, and I've asked Master Moose about it too, because we talk about these weird teams all the time, and we both agree, man. Like, if bloodlust is becoming an issue for you, it's because you don't have enough thralls on the pitch. You need to, on defense, you need to run 2 vamps, and if you have the team value eventually, on offense you should be running 3 vamps, probably never more than that. You can have maybe more vamps on your team, but you're really hurting yourself because your thralls are going to get hurt just by play, and then you're going to be knocking out and hurting your own. Badly hurt, but it's still off the pitch for the game.
Right.
And he's that go for it right there. That wasn't a blitz or anything, so that go for it was unnecessary. I guess maybe he was going to hypnotic gaze at the end, but still, he may not have understand what hypnotic gaze is because that wouldn't have been terribly
he would just
useful.
Get to run it off, yeah.
Yeah, and having that one person right behind wouldn't have made that dodge any worse. And I'm not sure that the coach is understanding the dodge trait.
Yeah, it's definitely one where it's. First of all, dodge in itself is already one of those tough ones to grab when you're first starting to play Blood Bowl, or when you played a lot less Blood Bowl. But there's a lot of tricky stuff when it comes to vampires and their skills, and hypnotic gaze is definitely one of the weirder skills to have.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where hypnotic gaze is, unless I'm mistaken, basically a offensive skill. Like, it is absolutely useless for the purposes of on your opponent's turn.
Yeah. Although you could use it to get rid of guard, if I recall correctly, because it doesn't extend tackle zones, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that you can. Again, and it's on your turn that you eliminate that guard so that you can offensively strike them. When I mean offense, I mean on turn. And I should probably be more specific when I say that. But because on your opponent's turn, they can just activate the fucking model, and it's bad.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
So it's really because the vamps have such low team members that are useful, it's really a secondary blitz. That's really what it is. It removes the tackle zones so that player's basically not there anymore for the purposes of hitting. So that way, vamps are great cage breakers, as long as you can make those hypnotic gaze rolls.
So here's a question. He followed up on the, I guess it would be the right side there.
Yeah.
And what that did was it ended up causing that to end up being a 1-die on that last hit that we just saw.
Yeah.
Would you have just left him back? Like, he doesn't know that it's going to be a stun before he follows up, but I feel like I would have just let that guy go.
Honestly,
just so I
with
could have an extra 2-die.
honestly with thralls, I can't think of a single instance where I'd ever follow up. At least not on the line like that, because I don't want my thralls to fight. My thralls are food. They are not fighters.
Right, that makes sense.
So
Thralls are friends, not food.
yeah, it's quite yeah. So, do you feel a kinship to the vampires, or do you think they're dirty apothecary users?
I mean, really, the problem here is just a prestige thing. You know, they think when you're surrounded by 11 people who are just there to die for you, you know, kind of a dick move. You should be getting your food from the other team. That's the most effective way to build team is by taking other team's players.
I suppose that is how a real undead team would do it.
Yeah, really, it's laziness and probably just too much money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they are the high elves of the undead community.
World, yeah. So we're seeing a little bit of this box again here.
You really want to get that corner cage. That corner cage gives you avenues of movement without plugging you up and keeping you from being able to
I couldn't
get...
see. Did he need go forts to curl all the way around there with his vampire?
I
think he did.
Yeah, probably. I hear a lot of dice rolling when there's not blocks, so it sounds like he's chucking go forts all the time. And he's also making go forts when he literally, that was his last turn and a half. That's kind of like, maybe he's not aware that he can kill his own players like that. Maybe he doesn't care.
I will say that was one of the things when I first started playing Blood Bowl that I was less aware of was I was playing a game and sure enough I did a go for it, failed it, and I got lucky because it was just a KO, and it didn't even occur to me that go for it's make you do armor rolls. Failed go for it's make you do armor rolls when I first started playing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what's the big deal? If I don't make it, I don't make it. It's like, no, you can 100% lose players.
Yeah. So there we go. First, I think that's the first injury on a thrall. It's a badly hurt, but it's going to remove him. Yeah.
He does have 2 extra thralls, though, which is aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like we talked about it, I probably would only have 1 extra thrall and get those rerolls in there. But with a vampire team, I probably wouldn't have more than 5 rerolls at the end of a season either. Like, I think 5 rerolls is a pretty cushy spot for most of the nega teams.
Well, at 5, I mean, and if you account for things like fame, if you start winning and things like that, 5, there's not many teams where I would consider more than 5 ever.
Yeah. I know.
Especially because rerolls for vamp teams are expensive. They're 140, I think.
I think that's true. I think for most of the nega teams, it's like because they're so important for those teams.
Yeah. So it's real dangerous to try to run with more than that because team value is just going to go through the roof.
Yeah. So interesting choice. We're back at the top of the second half, and he just engaged with a catcher. But I see his plan now, which is to hit that vamp. I don't know if I'd be going for the vamps. I'm always in the mind of ignore the vamps as much as you can, hurt their thralls because they're easy to hurt, and the vamps will remove themselves eventually.
A player advantage is still a big advantage. Even if you leave the most skilled players out there, having 5 or 6 more players is definitely worth it.
Yeah. So he's got that dodge in the pocket, so he can do a lot more cheeky moves like pulling linemen free.
We're definitely seeing right now, and again, I think that was a little bit out of order. I know he wanted to fill that cage, but free moves first, man.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see in these last couple of turns.
And see, I don't think he understands Hypnotic Gaze. Like that did not achieve anything. What were you saying?
Well, it potentially could if he shifts that thrall over to the other side of that vamp. He can get a 2-die. Potentially. I don't know if he's going to, but it's an option.
Yeah.
See, and there we go. We have a 2-die.
Yeah. I guess that was the whole purpose.
I mean, it's the undead It's the undead connection, man. I see it.
Oh no, yeah, you definitely reading the minds of these guys.
Yeah, but I think the last few turns we're starting to see a little bit why Jester wanted uh, Amazon so badly, and it's because so many start with blodge or dodge that they're real hard to put down.
Yeah, early on before teams get skilled up, this is a Amazons are a great team. They plateau fast around the 1500 mark. They just don't have the core stats to make a play against some of the other like a chaos team. The chaos
Yeah.
team has the core stats without the skills. That once they start gaining skills, they get pretty deadly.
Yeah. So I don't know about engaging those two vamps at the end of the previous turn. Like, I guess
Oh
it
no,
forces the vamps to throw dice in one form or another.
zone defense, putting them
Yeah.
right in front achieves the same thing without getting a free block on you.
Especially against a strength 4 player. I know you have the blodge edge, so a both down works in your favor, but that's only a 1 in 6 chance, or is it a 1 in 3 chance for a both down? No, it's 1 in 6.
Yeah, it's a single.
Two pushes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
And there's the 2 die. I guess he felt like he didn't have a lot to lose, but
I mean, was that a blitzer? No,
catcher.
it was a catcher. Okay, with a blitzer, I might have gone with it and would have said that's not a bad bet. But I mean, what is he achieving with that hit?
Right.
Again, don't know if he knows how. Maybe he just did it because it was there anyways.
So real quick, let's cover what is hypnotic gaze. What does hypnotic gaze do, and what's the best use for hypnotic gaze?
My camera. I turned off the settings to follow, but I guess it doesn't want to listen to me. Okay, so when you do that, you make an agility roll versus their. Of course, it's doing this to me.
The perfect time to look up the thing.
Yeah, settings, skills, general.
Always professional.
So professional. It's fine. I can edit this.
You know what, man? I think that's just as good as we're gonna get. Just that slight adjustment. At least it's not completely shifting across. It's only mostly shifting across.
Yeah. Okay. Make an agility roll. -1 modifier for each opposing tackle zone. So it's just a base agility rolls, but in that situation, the player cannot catch, intercept, anything. So I guess that was one benefit, is that he would have to actually activate the receiver.
In order to catch.
Yeah.
But Jester does something that the Jester handles passes a little bit different than I think a lot of other guys' passes. So when you're looking at the passing game, there's 2 ways to go about it. You can either try to make the shortest pass possible and then move your receiver after, or you can move your receiver into position first and then throw whatever that distance is.
Yeah.
And Jester tends to do the latter, where he's willing to make that longer pass to make sure he gets that touchdown, as opposed to there where it would have been into 2 tackle zones, but it could have been potentially like a handoff or a +1 modifier.
Yeah. I'm always afraid to do what he does because when that pass fails, it's so easy to just get knocked off the pitch, and then you're not only one player, but you're most likely your one receiver that was in position out of the game.
Yeah. If that ball falls off the pitch, that's going to be a turnover. That's going to be an opportunity for somebody to come over and knock you off the pitch. That's a player loss for the rest of that drive.
But it worked. So I mean, he is
Yeah, it still counts.
He's 3 up. So I mean, he's doing something right. I think neither player is using neither coach is using a strong zone which really both of them could benefit from a zone defense right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of aggression playing here, and I understand some of it, and then some of it's just like, maybe a little too aggressive. But honestly, for the most part, I haven't seen a lot of objectively terrible choices, so much as just ones like, I may have done that differently.
Well, and I think that comes with, I think, probably even the newer coach, Fartimus Maximus. I think he's not, like, he's never not, like, he hasn't, this isn't his first time touching the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're not going to see people just doing, like, abject, terrible things. But when it comes to even us, which are pretty laid back coaches, pretty laid back league, um, you're those we play a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I think most of us have at least 1,000 hours in Blood Bowl
Yeah.
across all the games.
Hmm.
So um, it's those little decisions, like that risk management, like you mentioned towards the beginning of the game, making the free moves first. Those are the kind of things that we key onto real quick because we've been bit by them for 400 hours.
Yeah. And this league, even as relaxed as we are, still can get very brutal and ruthless. Where you just like one or two small mistakes is is a 4-0, 5-0, wherein it's exceedingly uncommon in Blood Bowl to see more than a 2-1 game or a 1-0 game.
Yeah. And I think it's just the difference in the capability, and really it's an experience thing because
Hmm.
just some of the coaches just don't see what the other coaches do see.
Yeah. It looks like even after the fact, he has taken your lesson. You can see already he's got that cage moved back a little bit. He's got a little bit more movement to work here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, the left side also has the flank covered, so he doesn't have that issue anymore. Uh, this
Nice.
is really nice. This is a huge improvement already, I think, over the last couple of drives in order
Mm-hmm.
to win. So, regardless of his experience, this is already a huge improvement for Fardos Maximus.
Yeah. Oh, follow up even though. Oh, did he re-roll the Bloodlust?
He did, yeah.
If you already have a stunned player on the ground, don't re-roll that Bloodlust, man. Just don't
Hmm.
follow up the hit. Do you really want to surf that Zon that bad?
I mean, I could see an advantage though if he can get that zone off the pitch. That's probably not a terrible idea.
I mean,
That leaves a huge lane open on that side. And then that's one less player that can do anything about it.
yeah. I'm very much for using especially with the Vamp team, using your rerolls for actual play.
Hmm. But yeah, he didn't have anyone in that area, so re-rolling that Bloodlust.
No, he had a stunned player right there. Had he just not followed up, it would have been right there.
Oh, can you use it on a stun player?
Yeah, yeah. It don't have to be up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well, in
you
that case.
you can feed on anybody, as long as they're a thrall and adjacent to you.
Okay. Fards Maximus a little bit. You move down a little bit. I'm just curious to see. Did he leave that downfield open again? Oh no, he's got a safety now. He's got a safety this time.
Yeah.
Okay. I really thought for a minute, I was like, did Jester do that twice? Because that'd be
But now he's
horrendous.
got. Well, I was gonna say he had two Vamps downfield for receivers. Um, he's super aggressive with these Vamps, but he should, especially with how far down he is right now. The odds of him being able to get 3 touchdowns is pretty slim.
Yeah.
But I've seen weirder kickoff events.
Yeah. At this point, though, I think definitely we need. If it's me, I'm looking at where can I get points to fulfill for the next game. It's going to be a little bit less about. That's a good placement for that throw, though. I like that.
Yeah, but your Vamps getting 3 on a TD. I'd be putting Vamps downfield.
Yeah. Open
Especially
things up. Well,
yeah,
and anytime you have AG4, opening up the field is should be key.
yeah, and
Even
he's
for AG3, it's something that you need to consider. But for AG4, that should be a core of your game plan, is trying to spread that field out, because
yeah.
it's be a lot easier for you to make that catch than it is for somebody else to intercept the ball.
And a problem with having one receiver right there is that I saw that one guy coming, and while it wasn't, I mean, all he had to do was a both down, and it still achieves. And the stun was just really bad luck.
Yeah.
But at least drop the ball. You know what I mean? Even on a both down.
All right. That
Oh,
is
let's see.
exceedingly aggressive.
Well, I mean, he's 3-0, and he's this side of the pitch has all the Vamps.
Yeah.
So
The other side of the pitch has all the Amazons. So, um, okay. So he's moving thralls down. I've got to
I,
see. My first thought here is I'm covering that ball with that thrall. There's a thrall that can easily make it to the ball. Just cover it. Put someone on it.
yeah, I'm not confident why he is engaging down there in the south.
All right. we're throwing this. He's gonna push onto that ball, and you better hope that's convenient.
It's one of my biggest fears is popping players onto balls.
And that was about the worst place it could have ended up. So
Yeah.
he's gonna mark it here, but then it's gonna be. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a 1-die.
That's why I save rerolls.
Yep. $5 says that's gonna end up being a dodge out, so that he can get a 2-die to push that thrall off, and then that's gonna be an open a player available to pick up that ball.
Honestly, he can blitz with this character off the ground, get a 2-die. And then it's only a dodge to grab the ball and just run off with it with a blitzer. Not sure why he threw that block, but whatever.
Now, what's he got to lose, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then getting the 3 SPP on a blitzer, especially one that already has 2.
Yep.
Nice.
I don't like that position for that particular guy supporting, though. I think I would have placed it a little bit farther to the right and back.
Well,
Just make things inconvenient at that point.
yeah, it's of two minds, because with that you have to circumvent a little bit, so I sometimes like that. But if you put it next to it, it does make it to where when you're coming from the southeast like that, you're going to have to do a 2-die.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
So I actually prefer that just because the thralls don't have a terribly good movement. I mean, Amazons I think are roughly the same, yeah, 6.
And they are AG3, so the odds of them not being able to, I mean, they still have a pretty decent dodge going.
Yeah. And so he had to go, I think 2 go for it. Yeah, 2 go for it just to get a 1-die.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, if he was gonna do that anyways, the dude who didn't have to do the 1-die, who got up in the corner to didn't have to do any go for it's, should have probably just threw the 1-die.
Do you think that's a lack of understanding for him to try to get a 2-die?
I think so. I think he thought he had a 2-die there.
Mm-hmm. Because yeah, your support will be canceled out by their support, so it's not just that you have support there.
All right. Well, we are coming to a close as this last turn is just for
Hits and presumably 1 pass.
yeah. Let's see if the vamp actually tosses the ball. Oof.
Alright, so we start off with some hits. This is probably one of those times where I would actually just immediately throw my hits with the vampires.
Yeah.
That's where I want my SPP.
Yeah, I don't actually care about throwing with the thralls right now because I'm not scoring. Heyo.
Alright, and then after this, the only other thing I do here is pick up and just try to throw it.
There's one
Oh, yeah, I
Zon to
forgot
hit.
about that one,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's behind the blitz, but yeah, and that's it. Pick up, toss it to anybody. I guess Vamp would be particularly good. That one who's not engaged, but we did not do that. He's caging on turn 16. Maybe he forgot.
He might have forgot. If I had a nickel.
You can't kill your players from Bloodlust, so that's fine. Delicious.
And I think the worst you can get is just badly hurt, right?
Yes, that is the
Like,
worst that you
they'll be
can
back
do.
the next game no matter what.
Yep, so there's no risk there.
Can't break femurs on a bloodlust.
Oddly not. When you bite somebody's neck, it does not break their femur.
Super weird. Super weird.
But it does if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Alright. We have successfully caged. And that's the game. So looking at it, was a 4-0. Let's look at these dice rolls.
This is my favorite new feature.
Yeah.
Anyone who's talked to me in the last month, once I realized that they had this, I'm so happy. Because there's always a lot of shade about, oh man, dice were against me or dice were for you or whatever.
Yeah, it's probably one of the biggest things that puts me off about the Blood Bowl community in general is people complaining about rolling when it's just a fact of life in this game.
And you will generally see, like here, you can see for the most part, it's relatively evenly spread. He's got a few more 4s, which is great for him.
Yeah,
And
no,
a few less 2s.
His spread is amazing. Like that's as even as you could hope for with anything that's out of balance being positive. Let's see. I have a feeling before
Maximus did.
Yeah, before I click it, I have a feeling that his rolls weren't ideal, but I think he threw a lot more rolls.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of
Yeah,
rolls.
and so that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're playing. Is that one of your tactics as a player or as a coach should be to force your opponent to make rolls. You should not, as a coach, be putting rolls on yourself. Quick dirty math. I feel like he doubled the amount of rolls that the Hurt Locker had.
Easily.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. And you do see a slight skew here towards negative. The 41 twos
Mm-hmm.
compared to the 21 fives is that slight switch that you see between the two of them. But I don't think that's necessarily the spread isn't the difference in the score
Well,
here.
and keep in mind, Vamps are going to and I didn't even think about this before I mentioned the amount of dash rolls. They're always going to have about double the fucking rolls of any team, anyways, because they got a bloodlust.
That's true.
Um,
You can see here he's got was it 39 bloodlust rolls.
yeah,
But even without those, if you just take out 39 rolls, he probably still has about twice as many rolls.
yeah, it's a pretty significant amount. And then honestly, for a team that your primary movers are actually going to be rolling those dice, other than not rolling block dice, a 2+ is not that bad for him to get.
Yeah.
So having 2 as your highest roll is not great, but that's really what he wants for the most part. But those go for it's are what scares me. 18
Yeah.
go for it's like that's. Ugh.
That's a lot of unnecessary risk there. And I mean, he's passing them at the rate that he should be passing them at 83%. That's dead on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you never want to see a failed go for it, but I mean, he failed it the number of times we would have expected.
Yeah, I think the only thing that looks bad is his pass percentage.
Hmm.
Everything else looks about right.
And the game didn't go according to plan, but this easily could have been. He easily could have had a touchdown early on. Jester TG got real lucky on that first drive.
Yeah.
Of avoiding that touchdown because there was no safety back there.
No.
He did make that adjustment after. He might have noticed that he left it. He was like, "Oh, I got lucky there and made the adjustment." But yeah, definitely early on, that was just the difference of getting, a 1 instead of a 3
Yeah.
on that pass.
So you can see here that Jester only attempted 5 go for it's and failed 1, which is about right.
Yeah, about right.
Catches, it's about where you're at with an AG3 team. Dodges seem actually might be a little bit on the good side with a 72 on a AG3 team, but overall I don't think either team rolled badly. Like I wouldn't put it to dice for any situation. I think it was
There's nothing in here that looks exceedingly poor.
no.
There was a level up though for the Hurt Locker.
Yes.
And more importantly for them is that they managed to get a lot of players. I mean, that's 3 players that can level up next game.
Yes.
So they could be a monster after next week.
And this stat right here kind of shows these two right here, showing you kind of what really the game came down to, because they both had equal ball possession, but it was that movement. The movement of the ball was the killer.
Yeah, and the pens were dead on. You see 42 succeeded versus 34 succeeded, but they both had 12 armor pens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's considering they're both AV7 or largely AV7.
Yeah, basically, you're not throwing a lot of blocks at the Vamps, so you can basically consider an AV7 team. But overall, I think statistically a pretty close match. I think it just came down to maybe a couple times where the die was just really bad timing. That first pass was the first time that I really looked at it and was like, that was a bad time to roll poorly and to reroll. But
so yeah, advice going forward for the vampires, I would definitely say try to get those wing vampires downfield a little bit more. Give yourself those passing options, and then definitely engage less, probably with your thralls. Throw those blocks when you have to, but like you said earlier, that's food. Like you don't want them to engage any chance that you can avoid it.
And for getting downfield, if you want, especially when you're running a low number of vampires, you may want to put like 2 vampires on the same wing, and use Hypnotic Gaze to open up the lane for your other vampire, so he doesn't have to make as many dodges, or at least dodges that aren't so detrimental.
Right. For the Hurt Locker, honestly, pretty solid game overall for Jester TG. Just make sure you keep an eye on those safeties, I would think, right? And again, he's real aggressive with I know he's got Blodge, but man, AV7 is scary if you're gonna engage a lot.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to run a safety, run a blitzer as a safety. Your catcher's not going to do you any favors as a safety, because the catcher's not skilled out yet to just intercept with like pass block or anything. So your safety's there to stop somebody, and if you're not putting somebody who has block, then you're not really going to stop anybody. You may want to give a catcher eventually wrestle.
Pretty good.
Catchers with wrestle is not the worst safety that you could possibly build, especially with the Amazons getting a lot of catchers.
Diving tackle is always really nice on a catcher.
You can make a really gross safety that way, but that's building stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would just say probably have him look into zone defenses a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Yeah, you need to play like an elf team. You're basically an elf team without the natural ability, the natural
Yeah.
talent. All right. Well, I think that's it. Do you have anything for our viewers in my very poorly constructed and I don't know how to run my equipment or talk?
No, I think we've nailed it. This is the level of quality you can expect all season, with some slight improvements, perhaps. Maybe I'll get a tan.
Yeah. You're looking a little bleached right now, but we're not that far into summer, so we have time. We can take you out. I can set you out on we just got a pool. We got a pool not too
I
far
would
away.
appreciate that. Yeah.
I can set you out on one of the because I'm sure you're not. I mean, you probably float, but I don't know.
I can assure you, I don't.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not super porous.
Okay.
Turns out, real dense.
Okay.
I was a milk fan. Wisconsin, you know how it is.
Would you say thick-skulled?
I don't get it.
And with that wonderful comedy that you can come to expect, we will see you next time on Cablevision HD. I am Complacent Badger,
And I'm gimpy.
and we'll see you later.